I thought my job at Hyundai was hard. It was, I took it very seriously. Every month we fought for every car sale that we had. And, this is equally as critical for this platform to succeed. And there's a lot, I think, at stake to making sure that it thrives and that we ensure that it's a great place for advertisers to come. And we know that it's a place that consumers love to come to find out what's happening and breaking in culture and what's happening now.
Today, I'm thrilled to sit down with Angela Zepeda, former CMO of Hyundai and current global head of marketing for X. We dive into her transformative success as Hyundai's chief marketing officer, where she reshaped the brand's presence in the American Zeitgeist, and explore her vision for her biggest challenge yet, driving a new era at the self-proclaimed free speech platform. A big thank you to our sponsors for making today's episode possible: TaxMax, The Car Dealership Guy Job Board, and Impel. And now let's get into the show. Angela Zepeda on the CDG podcast. Angela, welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Or should you tell me welcome, because we're not on my home base.
Yeah, welcome to LA.
Happy to be here. All right, Angela, let's dig right in. Before we get into the meat and potatoes, you had a great, long, successful stint at Hyundai. You're now at X, global head of marketing. Can you just tell us a little bit about yourself? Give us an introduction.
Oh, sure. Well, I was born and raised in Southern California, in Orange County, and I've remained here my whole life. I'll have to say many times I tried to go to places like New York, but it just never happened. I just was very lucky in finding opportunity in work, and my family is here. My husband's family is here. So this is really where we've always been, which is fantastic. But, I grew up, in a big family and always had ideas of being like a fashion designer. My father was a dentist, and by the time I was ready to go to college, I think these ideas that I had as a young girl of being a fashion designer, they were like, no, I don't think so. And so I ended up going to school locally. I went to Cal State Fullerton in Orange County, which I didn't really like. I wanted to go away to school and do something bigger, but I was also a very compliant daughter and did what my parents asked. And I ended up getting a degree in communications and advertising, which to me, I fell sort of backward into that industry. And at that time, when I graduated, there was a huge burgeoning industry for advertising and the car industry that had come to Southern California. And so I got my first job at Foote Cone & Belding in advertising, worked on the Mazda account. And that proved to be really fortuitous because that was the beginning of a very long and successful career that I had working for some of the biggest ad agencies in Southern California and working on a lot of auto brands along the way. It was really fantastic. At some point later on in my career, I was leading the Campbell Ewald office in LA. That was a Detroit-based agency. It had Chevrolet for many, many years. I think it was 99 in total. But I never worked on Chevy at that time. I was working in the LA office on a lot of other accounts. And it was that time I went back to school to get my MBA. And I thought it was time to maybe just think about what else I would do with my career beyond advertising. But advertising was always pulling me back.
What was it? What was it so much about advertising? And specifically in the car business.
The car business is a fantastic business to work on as far as an account is concerned. Because first of all, you have usually very large budgets, which allow you to do a lot of things. And there's lots of layers. So I think that was a part of the rapid ascension that I had, was that there was just opportunity to continue to grow and work on something else. But at that point, when I was at Campbell Ewald, I'd been there a long time, 13, 14 years. I was looking for change in my lifestyle. I'd been remarried at that point. And I got a call from an old boss of mine who I loved. He was the president of Donor, which was the agency that was running Mazda at one point. And I came back to work for him. And that led me to work at the agency for Hyundai, which was Ocean. And within probably about 2.5, almost 3 years of being there, it just ended up the person who was leading the Hyundai account. I went there to grow a new business. The person who was running Hyundai, they left for other opportunity. That led me to be the lead person.
What year was this?
This was, well, I'll fast forward in the fall of 2019, when I was the lead at Hyundai or the lead at Ocean for Hyundai. I was asked by Jose Munoz to come over and be the CMO at Hyundai, because our CMO client had left to go for another opportunity himself at that point. So I just had a couple doors open for me that were really incredible. But I don't know if I would have planned that trajectory for myself to go, probably a 25-year career on the agency side to suddenly have this opportunity to become CMO for, in my opinion, one of the best car brands we have out there right now in the U.S., and to be part of that team and to help it grow to what it is today was incredibly fantastic.
Okay, so lots to unpack there. Number one, I still remember starting in the business when selling the Hyundai Sonata. That was like, the beater car. It was like, subprime. They can't really afford anything else.
Yeah.
And that was the Sonatas, the ones.
The previous ones.
Yeah, with like the bug eyes.
Yeah.
That stood out. So how did the brand go through this crazy transformation? Like what were the elements that led you to successfully, and again, I know this was a multi-decade transformation, but how does that happen? I have a dealer friend who he's texted me several times and we talk about his Hyundai store in Kia, and I always ask him like, what's the latest valuations? And he has this 100 Hyundai store in PA that's like, I don't know, like 6x in value over like a decade, something crazy. And like that is like an incredible, from like a business perspective, that's an incredible asset. So how did that happen? What were the keys to the success of that?
There's a lot of things there to talk about that were part of this, I think, real big transformation that happened with Hyundai. I would say probably starting in 2018 to 2019. And a couple of things started before even I came there as CMO. The biggest one was probably the ascension of E.S. Chung into the role of executive chair. His father had retired. E.S. Chung, for those who don't know, is the grandson of the original founder of the Hyundai Motor Group. And he now is in the leadership position for Hyundai Motor Group globally, obviously. And
so you're saying the third generation didn't screw it up?
Well, so far, no, he's doing great. And he was fantastic. And that change, I think, was then part of the leadership change that happened. And another key hire was, of course, Jose Munoz himself, who came to Hyundai as the CEO for the U.S. in 2019. And of course, now he was just named as CEO for Hyundai Motor, which is incredible. And I think that leadership change was when Hyundai started really changing from just being a sedan-based primarily company to innovating things like expanding the portfolio of SUVs. In that fall of 2019 is when the Palisade came to Hyundai. That was the 8-seat large format SUV, which was very much needed. Hyundai had been very behind in that key target segment of the subcompact SUV. And so now finally there was a lineup of SUVs that was very competitive. And the second thing I think with that leadership came the investment in key technologies like electrification. And that just gave...
Do you think that was a positive for the brand?
Absolutely.
In light of like the, kind of consumer demand that's oscillated back and forth. What's your take?
I think EVs are here to stay. I think the innovation helped elevate the brand to be front forward and not be a fast follower, but really be a leader in this. And that, it's a technology that people do want. Things that are lagging behind it are things like infrastructure. And when gas prices tend to be a little more affordable and it's not putting the pinch in the wallet, then people may not consider it. But it's definitely gone past to just being a technology play where, a niche following of that kind of technology jumped in. It did become a wider group of people considering EVs. And I think that's what you saw was more normalcy happening. There's a lot of competition when it comes to choosing which is the right powertrain and what kind of vehicle you need for your family's needs. EV is a big leap, but it's actually becoming a lot easier to say yes to EV. There's range anxiety that's really diminishing because now the range is fantastic. There's a lot more infrastructure today, and there's a lot more performance in these vehicles. So I think the future is bright. And that innovation that Hyundai said yes to and invested in really saw it as a brand on the move. And that just gave us opportunity. My job in marketing was actually really easy at that point because we had all this at our fingertips to talk about the product, the innovation. And of course, the hardest part was to give some meaning to the word Hyundai itself, which is a difficult word for a lot of Americans to say. I just said it wrong myself. But we would always say Hyundai like Sunday. But it was a fantastic platform for us to just begin trying to tell more brand stories, trying to tell more about the innovation, trying to tell more about the products that we had. And this was just rich territory for us to play with.
So EVs are still a relatively small percentage of Hyundai's total sales.
Yes.
Talk to me about now the non-EV shopper. Like why are they suddenly buying Hyundai? Is it better quality? Is it cheaper than Toyota? Like what was the driver there? If I'm just the middle-class family in America that has 2 kids, let's say, and I need a vehicle, why am I choosing Hyundai?
I think there's a lot of reasons why people choose Hyundai. The Hyundai of the past was really the cheap choice.
Correct.
We don't want to be that, or they don't want to be that. It's all about value. And where Hyundais now are today is that I think it democratized a lot of the things you might have in a much more expensive car, and they're putting it in a vehicle that the average person can really afford. You don't have to give up on a beautiful interior, all the latest technology, safety from bumper to bumper. And it looks great. And it's much more affordable than some of the competitors in the set.
100%.
So couple that with a 100,000 mile warranty.
My wife's Sienna was like $56,000. It was crazy.
Yeah, some brands are expensive, and they became more expensive during COVID. And Hyundai actually did a great job during COVID with inventory. And that actually opened up a lot more people to choosing Hyundai that maybe didn't put it on the shopping list before. But I think the end product that actually Hyundai delivers today is far superior. And, coupled with the still best in class warranty, it gives people a lot of peace of mind. So I think it's a brand that will continue to be on the move and do very, very well.
Talk to me about just the future of auto retailing. You were obviously at Hyundai during the big Amazon announcement, which was big, because I think more than just the actual features and the tool, what it brings to the industry, I think just philosophically, the thought of an OEM partnering with Amazon, partnering with dealers, like that has way bigger implications in dealers' minds potentially. What can you share about that partnership, the idea behind it? If anything you can share on that.
Well, there's a lot of professionals and executives at Hyundai who brought that idea to the table. My job in all of that was to bring the go-to-market plan and the creative that would be for the launch. So very much part of what my remit was as CMO. But I think the idea behind Amazon is not as nefarious as I think maybe people think. I mean, the way that Hyundai and even myself personally think about Amazon is that it's just another channel for dealers to use to help engage consumers with. Dealers are at the core of this program with Amazon. And it shouldn't be thought of any differently than any other endemic by which a consumer might be shopping for a car, like a KBB or a cars.com. So it's just where shoppers are. Might as well offer them now. They were looking for toothpaste or soap, and now they could actually shop for a car on Amazon. And if they want to pay for it all the way through the transaction, which eventually they would go pick up at the dealership, why not? It's very much how people are used to buying and shopping, and digital retailing is core to how people buy most things. So I think in that way, it's very, very smart. And I think the way that they're working with figuring out the core piece for dealers is really key to the success. And
then, tell me why was Amazon chosen? Now, obviously, you're not a Hyundai anymore, and you're not speaking for Hyundai. You're just sharing your opinion. But I'm curious to know, there's third-party listing sites in our industry.
Yep.
That have big kind of captive audiences looking for cars. So why was Amazon chosen as the player for this?
It's just one more layer to all of those audiences. I mean, Amazon is the biggest shopping marketplace in the world.
Got it. So it's by sheer volume.
It's by sheer volume. Why not? Why not be there? Why not be there where you are with everything else? It was just one more channel to capitalize on.
Was any consideration given to the fact that maybe people on Amazon are not looking to buy a car? They're kind of looking for like a quick, non-discretionary purchase, or that's super quick and they don't have to think about it so much?
I think consumption for consumer products that are, toothpaste to paper towels, of course, are much more logical to think about for Amazon. But it's, just think about how you might buy a house today. I mean, I bought my house completely online. I won't,
Angela, because I can't afford one. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm sorry. We got to work on that for you. But the truth is, you do your entire back-end signing for a house today all online.
Yeah.
You don't even need to go see a house before you buy it. There's so much technology behind that. So if you can buy a house and do your mortgage online, the truth is you really can do it. It is difficult to buy a car today in the traditional sense. This is just helping to break down barriers for consumers to make it easier for them. And I think if you stay consumer-centric in your thinking with all of these ideas, I think it's a win-win for everybody. And I think those are the things that the team at Hyundai and Amazon are figuring out with the dealers. And I think that's a very hopeful place to be, is because I think when you stay stagnant, then you're not innovating, and that's where industry dies. And I think the innovation is part of the excitement in this entire program.
This episode is brought to you by TaxMax. Tax season is just around the corner, and that means customers are ready to buy, but many are stuck waiting on tax refunds. Enter TaxMax. With the TaxMax File and Drive sales event, you can turn refund checks into same-day down payments starting January 2nd. By using TaxMax, customers can apply for up to $7,000 on the same day they file to use toward their down payment. No need to wait for the IRS, and there's no extra work for your team. TaxMax files the tax return, the dealership receives the down payment, and the customer gets the car all in the same day. Click the link in the show notes below to learn more and use code CARGUY, that's CARGUY, to get 25% off TaxMax VIP program or higher. Do you think there's anything that Hyundai has done that just the average consumer has maybe not noticed or isn't privy to that has had a meaningful impact on the success of the brand?
One of the things that makes me think from that question you just asked is, I think we took it for granted, especially as a marketer, that, everybody knew about the heritage and the background of the company. But the truth was, a lot of people didn't know that it was a South Korean company, that it was rooted in sort of a generational type of family structure. It's a chaebol.
What does that mean?
It just means that there's the Chung family's at the center of running Hyundai Motor Group, and that it was founded on this incredible Mr. Chung, who is the most unlikely person to have ever started a car company.
Really?
And it's just really a fascinating story. But we thought maybe people might have understood more that it was a South Korean company. It was a foreign company that had these foreign roots, but it was all about delivering the best product for the money. The truth was they didn't know that story, and they didn't know about important innovations like a 100,000-mile warranty, which is best in class. People did know it who owned the car, but the wider breadth of America didn't know about that. And so those are things that we tried to tell, these brand stories, to try to get people to lean in more, to see that this was really an incredible company that was really built for people, and had a lot to say just beyond the vehicles. And so I think that's one of the things we learned, was that there was, just innovation and just the product, 100,000-mile warranty, and just where the ethos was.
That
of the
100K
company.
warranty was a big deal.
It was a huge deal.
I can tell you, as a used car dealer, that was it was just seeing that, I'm like, wow, that's a statement.
What studies showed us later was that it was actually a key reason for purchase.
I can tell you that as a dealer. Now, I don't remember if it was 100K. I think it wasn't it for the first owner. It was like comprehensive, but for the second owner, it was powertrain only or something like that.
And they're changing that, as I understand it, trying to make it that the warranty stays with the vehicle.
Yeah. We pushed lots of Hyundais because of that.
Yeah.
Because, hey, you have manufacturer's warranty to 100K, at least on the engine and transmission. I mean,
exactly.
Major components. It's a big deal.
It gives people peace of mind, basically. And I think at the time when Hyundai brought it out was to really help stand behind the quality. I think people thought at first, they're having to cover for the quality of the vehicle. No, they're saying they stand behind the quality of the vehicle.
That's huge.
Because it's actually very expensive to uphold that warranty. I think Hyundai has done a great job.
We got a bunch of engines with that.
You know what? I think it's been a fantastic company that has always kept its promises to its customers. And so I think that was, it's a trigger for people to say, I trust in this company and I trust in this vehicle.
Yeah. So what's your honest take on the brand's future? What can you say about that?
Oh, I think it's got all the upside and success that you could imagine. I think the leadership that's in place, the product lineup, still, I think the constant investment in innovation and electrification. They just opened the plant in Savannah.
Mm-hmm.
I think it has really, even Jose used to say to us all the time, probably what we lacked was confidence. I think there's confidence now in the company that it really is a huge player in the auto industry. I believe it's number 3 globally. And I think it's just beginning to really get, the wind under its wings. I think it really has incredible upside potential across the board.
What I found fascinating was during the pandemic when Toyota was so undersupplied.
Yeah.
Now everyone had supply issues, but they have been the slowest to catch up and have remained at like 20, 30 plus day supply on vehicles till now. And to me, that was such a big opportunity for competing brands to just take market share. I mean, when are you going to have an opportunity for that loyal Toyota customer that just wants value and can't get the vehicle they want? I mean, I had to buy my Toyota from California.
Yeah.
Literally, I live in Pennsylvania. Just think about that. Now, not everyone has the means to maybe pay an extra $2,000 in transport and that was a decision I made at the time. But the point is, it was, such a great opportunity for competing brands to step up and, go in for the kill and grab that market share to potentially acquire and retain new customers for life.
It's totally true. And I think Hyundai did a great job during that time. They were just really fortuitous that they were able to keep up with inventory better than some of the competition and able to manage the chip shortage.
Yeah.
And it was true. There's only a fraction of the customers that'll put multiple brands on their shopping list. So the sooner you can get to the top of that shopping list, the better. And during COVID, I think because we had the inventory, people were putting us on the list that maybe weren't going to put us on the list before. And now they're owning the car and have an opinion about it. And hopefully they'll remain loyal customers for Hyundai. Mm-hmm. That'd be the ultimate goal.
Yeah. What do you think about the future of car sales just in general, right? When you think about the way consumers shop, the pendulum swung very far to digital retailing during the pandemic, then swung back. People wanted to go back to the in-store experience. I recently had Liza Borges, CEO of Carter Myers Automotive, on the podcast and asked her, I said, Liza, do you believe in big fancy showrooms or do you believe in leaner? She's like, well, that's what I don't believe in. She's not about the big fancy showroom. Versus I had Ryan Rohrman, CEO of Rohrman Auto Group in Indiana, and they just launched the largest Honda store in the world. He's like, now I asked him why. And he said a big part of that was simply his father that had this, really big preference and loved, big showrooms that were impressive, physical appearance, whatever. But what's your take, right? What is the future of car shopping? Where are we really going?
I wish I had a crystal ball to give you a perfect answer. And I'll just give you my opinion for where I said, I think it'll remain very steady and very positive. I think, going back to the retail experience, we were seeing that there was a little bit of both. People like to do some of the shopping experience digitally and have that done before they even got to the showroom. I think the drop-off comes down to basics of just make sure you have an omni-channel type like experience. So don't have the person go through all the experience of doing all the pre-work digitally to only go into the showroom to be handed to a sales guy who's like, who are you and what are you looking for? So it's the same thing like when you go to the doctor. That's one of the problems with traditional healthcare is that you have to keep repeating yourself and redoing the paperwork. It kind of happens right now today, I think, with digital retailing butting up against people going to the showroom. I think because cars are a thing that people want to go kick the tires and see how beautiful. I mean, they're beautiful. I mean, it's exciting. It's an emotional buy as much as it's a rational buy. A lot of people do still want to go to the showroom and do that final part of actually. And that now they're very sophisticated with all the technology. I mean, it's helpful to have someone take you through the vehicle and show you how to use it. So I think it's the coupling of doing a lot of the yucky part that people don't like. And not making them stay in an F&I office for 4 to 5 hours. Let me do all that up front and let me just enjoy my purchase when I come into the showroom and show me how to use it and how to really, enjoy this vehicle and purchase. I think it'll be a little bit of both.
I'm laughing because it's, what year did you leave Hyundai? Was it just this year, 2024?
Yeah, just
so
left
it's 2024 and Angela's living the life. She's got it made at Hyundai. And there's something pinches her and says, it's time to try something new, a new challenge.
Yeah.
And you decide to join X, the social platform, formerly known Twitter, for anyone not familiar, at a very pivotal time in global tensions, just political dynamics, free speech conversations, election season. You obviously joined prior to the actual election. What happened? Why? What's up?
Lots of people have asked me why. I had been at Hyundai for almost 5 years. I had been at the ad agency for 3 years. Which is, by the way, 5 years. I remember seeing that graph of like a CMO tenure. I think the average CMO tenure is like 1 year, 8 months or something. It's like 2 years.
2 years, yeah. So
and there's a lot of CMOs that do stay in place for a long time. So I think that's changing a little bit. Mm-hmm. It's hard to change a lot of things in just a 2 year time period.
Like 100.
So I was happy to have my 5 years. And by the way, I loved Hyundai. I still love Hyundai. And I loved my job. I loved everything about it. But sometimes timing and opportunity comes knocking. And I'd always thought if I was to ever leave Hyundai, I wanted to do something, especially at this juncture of my career, to do something really big and bold. Just to go to another OEM, that was probably much lower on my list. And, I feel protective about what I know about Hyundai. and sharing too much of that for another brand, or do it at least one right after another. And this opportunity came for to put a global head of marketing in at X. And I thought, now is the time to come to this brand, because if I wait to do it after a lot of things are figured out and the brand has success, then, where do I put my stamp on crafting the strategy and the messaging and trying to get people to understand what this platform is today, which is very different than what it was before Elon Musk bought it 2 years ago. And it's a perfect marketer's, I think, opportunity to do that. And so I thought it was bold.
Job.
Yeah, I thought my job at Hyundai was hard. It was, I took it very seriously. Every month we fought for every car sale that we had. And, this is equally as critical for this platform to succeed. And there's a lot, I think, at stake to making sure that it thrives and that we ensure that it's a great place for advertisers to come. And we know that it's a place that consumers love to come to find out what's happening and breaking in culture and what's happening now. So I thought it was fantastic. I was thrilled at the opportunity that it was offered to me, and I leapt at the chance. And while I miss the people at Hyundai and a lot of the work, I'm glad that I had it, and I'm hoping to take what I've learned from there and hopefully apply some of that to what I'm going to do now at X.
This episode is brought to you by Impel. A word of caution to dealers: open source large language models like GPT are conversation tools, not business solutions. If you want to embrace results and not risk, choose AI that's purpose-built for automotive retail and drives dealer results throughout the entire customer journey, from website to chat to sales to service. Impel AI is custom-built to drive dealer business objectives and features a proprietary blend of large language models, automotive optimization layers, and seamless integration with your entire tech stack. The result: exceptional customer service experiences and increased customer lifetime value, and that means more revenue and greater profitability. Embrace results, not risk, with Impel AI. Visit impel.ai or click the link in the show notes below to see what the future of AI looks like today.
Let's start. So many questions I could ask about this, right? But I think just starting high level.
Well, actually, can I jump and ask you a question?
Go ahead.
So you started on X, though.
I did. On Twitter, actually, but yeah.
Oh, that's fine. And tell me why. Tell me what was that platform. Why did you choose it?
It's a great question. Because it allows you to have an anonymous persona. So I think the anonymity can go in a positive way or a negative way. Right. There's many negative ways it goes on the internet, but positive ways are for someone who's not used to maybe sharing their thoughts publicly or is less comfortable with that, you can be yourself and not take any, reputational risk.
Right.
At the time, I was running a company, just had stakeholders and didn't want to say something stupid. God forbid it impacts employees. Who knows what, investors. And so it was just an easy way to kind of share my thoughts. I also was going through a bit of a challenge with my business, and it allowed me to be creative.
Okay.
And just put myself out there without taking any personal risk.
I love that. Now
what happened was it grew so much to the point where it kind of got awkward.
Yeah. Like, I have to reveal myself.
I was like, okay, this is like real. This isn't just like a little account anymore. So then I was like, okay, well, now I got to reveal myself. And I put my marketer hat on and I said, how the hell do I tell my story without it seeming like inauthentic?
Right.
And I decided to go produce a video because I said, that's the most intimate. This guy, Anthony Pompliano, who's pretty big on social media, we were texting one day and he said these words to me. He said, Yossi, he sent me this hierarchy of audience connection. And he said, it's like text, audio, video. He's like, video is the most intimate way of connecting with your audience. And it just hit me because before that, I had no video, no audio even. I said, you know what? I'm going to produce a video, tell the world my story. That's awesome. I won't have to kind of have this video anymore, which wasn't even meant to be a thing. It was just the way I started. So that's my story.
That's amazing. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. I love it that you're on the platform.
Yeah. Well, everything has kind of grown organically. When you think about us today, we have a news site, which is, one of the fastest growing automotive media brands, or news site specifically. We are one of the fastest automotive media brands. But the news site, again, that was a byproduct of just the audience wanting more.
Exactly.
And we're like, okay, well, we need longer form insights and more insights. So let's do this. I never wanted to have an automotive news site. That's kind of how everything happened. So
I love the organic nature of that. I think we see and hear that a lot, especially when it comes to social platforms. And I think this creator economy has really allowed a lot of talent to blossom. Yeah. And you're a great example of that.
Well, I think social media in general, it's one of the best just testing mechanisms out there, because you put your thought out there, you put your copywriting out there,
Yeah.
and the market will tell you what
immediately.
It thinks. It's actually incredible because you can get reactions, you can get feedback. So I think once you get comfortable with that, it's truly a blessing, because now it's like I see everything from like a marketer's lens. I'm like, wait, does this make sense? You know, how are people going to react to this? Like, it just really opens up your eyes and trains you to be a better writer, to be a better thinker, to articulate things more clearly.
Yeah, I think a lot of people shy away from it because they're worried about, I think, a negative reaction. But I think you have to embrace it as a marketer to say, look, you know, all reactions are good reactions because you can learn from those negative reactions. I mean, I think that's what...
That's a big thing you just said. You can learn from it.
You can learn from it if you want to and if you're open to it. And I think that's one of the barriers that I think social media is trying to break down with these platforms to say, look, we're not all going to agree on what everybody's saying. But I think as having an open platform for conversation, if you're open to thinking of things in a new way, or at least considering someone else's point of view, could probably make you a better marketer, thinker, business person, and maybe just person overall. And I think that's the power of the platform. And to your point, it happens in real time.
So 100% agree with you. We take the feedback we get is the most helpful thing ever. You know, I had someone, I'll give you a funny one. Someone commented on one of our YouTube videos and said, hey, I love your videos, but you keep saying like, And, you know, I've done like 130 podcasts at this point. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, you see, I didn't even notice that. But then someone pointed out, I fixed that right away.
Great. Thanks for being a mirror for me.
I'm like shutting my mouth. I'm like, I'm not saying, and I'm still not perfect at it. But the point is like, that's why feedback is like so amazing.
Yeah.
When you have an audience like that, it's really helpful. So less about me though, more about you, because I'm curious to know, a marketer's job is super difficult. A marketer's job at a social media company is extra difficult. A marketer's job at a social media company that is owned by Elon Musk, who's obviously very outspoken and not afraid to say what he thinks, is like God tier difficulty. How do you like what? How do you deal with this? What's your strategy? How do you even think about that?
The way we think, well, first of all, I'll say I have not met Elon Musk.
Maybe he's watching now.
That would be awesome if he had the time to do it. You know, we love Elon for being the owner of the platform and what he has brought to X and all of his other companies. I mean, we love and respect what he's doing. He's wildly brilliant, and he's bringing all the engineering and innovation vision for the platform. And that's fantastic. And his wealth and success brings a lot of great opportunity to a lot of things, X and his other companies, and now in a lot of different ways. So you can't, I think, deny, the power of who he is, even a person, his brand. But when we think about the platform, you know, he is a very active voice on the platform. Absolutely. And, you know, he's very authentic in how he actually responds to things. And, you know, that's actually very intentional. That is what X is all about. And he has as much right as anyone else to express his thoughts and opinions on the platform. That is why it's there. For us, what I'm thinking of as a marketer is it's not only a place where people go to find out about what's happening in culture, to find out what's happening in real time. If you wanted to know what's happening with the fight on Friday night, or even the scores on Sunday Night Football, or what's happening with the latest movie, people go to X to find out what's happening. And on top of it now, we have all of this rapid innovation that Elon is bringing with his vision that is going to be a much more immersive and better experience for customers on the platform. And that's what we're trying to focus on with this messaging that's forthcoming in my new role, is to explain to people that Twitter was this incredible platform that was started many years ago, but it was text-based only and was a limited amount of characters that you could use. That is not the platform today. It is video at the core, and we have new things coming like Video Tab, XTV. Yesterday, we announced the NFL Portal, which was a unique partnership with the NFL for a very immersive and 360-degree sort of experience with football, which is amazing. And all of that is happening with him as our owner. But it really is the platform we're trying to say is at the core of what I think people really want. And so we're grappling with all of those things together. Yeah, and I want
to talk more about your launch with NFL Portal.
Yeah.
But tell me, so does his demeanor, does him just saying what he thinks, how does that impact, or does it even impact any of your marketing strategies? Like, what consideration does that get?
You know, I've thought about this a lot. And there's a lot of conversation that happens about the platform that is out of our hands. And that narrative that took place when he took over, it's been over 2 years now.
Yeah.
So things like brand safety and, Elon, and now he was very much front and center with the election. In a lot of ways, we see a lot of stability happening with the platform. We have 570 million active users on the platform. These are latest numbers. Those are our monthly active users. We have about 251 million daily users coming to the platform. That's about an 8% year-over-year growth. So, it does have a lot of viability in people's lives. It's where people go to find out what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
So even with him being the owner and sometimes saying things that people find, that they don't agree with, that's actually the place where a lot of people do want to hear what he has to say. And there's discourse that's happening. So I think actually, though, he's learning as a person himself. I think he's had some humility to say, look, maybe I shouldn't post at 3 a.m. I think he was actually, really good through the election. I think he's taking, I'm just looking as a consumer, a little bit different stance in the way that he posts. He does post a lot, but I think, people are commenting on it, and I haven't seen it as being a negative like maybe I thought it would be. And right now what we're focusing on is the innovation and what the platform means for all people, not just someone for like Elon
Mm-hmm.
Musk.
So yeah, he's always said he has this vision for creating like the everything app.
Yes.
How do you balance that and, execute on that plan, create something for the existing users? Like, how do you think about the entire plan of creating an everything app?
Yeah, the everything app is definitely in formation. There's a ton of engineering that's happening behind the scenes. And, I think the mantra is, great idea, get it out to market. There's no slow road mapping to innovation. And the NFL portal is a great example of that. The first portal that was done on the platform was for the Paris Games. And they thought, wouldn't it be great if you could see everything right here on X that has everything about the games? It was done very quickly, didn't really have time to even market it to advertisers, but there was a lot of learning. And then post the Paris Games, they said, we should do this with the NFL. So they worked very rapidly on that. When I showed up on September 9th, a week later, the team told me, hey, we have this thing called the NFL portal. We're going to need some marketing around it. And, that's pretty fast because it launched yesterday. So that was about September, 2 months to get a full plan together and in working in collaboration with the NFL. So, really fast to market. And you're going to see now just one after another of new innovation coming on the platform that is just going to make this incredibly immersive everything app. If you choose to do so, we're going to have it right there in one place, which will be really fantastic. And I think it's exciting.
What do you think about this phenomenon where social networks are sort of polarizing by like political opinion? Right? This wasn't a thing 4 years ago.
It wasn't a thing.
And now it's like, there's competing apps spawning for like, I guess for X. And all these social networks are they're all leaning in like different kind of political affiliations. How do you think about that at X and about your future as a brand?
Yeah, one of the big premises of the app is that it, has this idea of being, very much about free speech. Being a place of like the global town square. It is a place where we want people to come bring their opinions about what's happening. Through the election, and of course, maybe even over the last 4 years, this has escalated. You're absolutely right. I think it's kind of a disservice to any platform to have only one political affiliation or be leaning in one direction. It would be better if there was more voices, I think, that would have more discourse. I think that's what would be the ultimate goal.
Do you think it's realistic? Because it seems like the platforms, ultimately people want to be in their own echo chambers. And it's like, if I believe, up, down, right, left, it doesn't matter what I believe.
I think it's going to change, and I'm going to tell you why.
Why?
Because I think what happened with the election was a tipping point. I think the legacy media got the election wrong. They were listening to traditional polling that got it wrong. And there was a surprise about the outcome. However, if you had been watching on X, or even the other one we were watching were the betting markets, that it looked very clear that Trump was going to win the election. So I think there's been this shift of saying, look, you in the echo chamber, you're going to get wrong information, and that you have to open up your eyes to other things to be able to get the real full picture. And I think that's one of the things that's been a fallout from the election. is that when you only look in the same place over and over and over again, you miss the whole point that maybe the rest of the country was thinking in a different way. And there was this groundswell that was happening. And I think that's one of the takeaways. I think this is going to be something that people are going to write about and talk about for a long time to come.
So you think there's like a fundamental shift in like the cultural like zeitgeist stand?
We do.
And that X represents that.
It's one of the brands that represents that. I think there are others that are also burgeoning beyond, it isn't just X, it's anything that's a non-traditional legacy media. It's a place where individuals and creators can now have a platform to express their opinions, different than the echo chamber, as you put it so aptly, had been happening for a long time. It's not curated content that says, a script that's on a particular point of view. It's a place where everybody can come to share their points of view. And that's the beauty of it. And that's why everybody, I think, on our team and otherwise thought it was important to keep that very premise, is that it has to be a place where people can share their opinions. I'm hoping that opposing opinions come more forward on the platform, and likewise on other platforms. And I think that'll be really key for, social media moving forward. A lot of people want to put more guardrails on social media. But I think when you have individuals contributing, I think that's part of the balance. I think you have to make sure that it's not violent, hateful, or somehow egregious content. There are rules and guideposts for every social platform to make sure that doesn't take place.
Yeah.
But I think for open discourse on opinions, I think that's a perfect place to do it.
This episode is brought to you by my very own car dealership guy industry job board. CDG Jobs is revolutionizing how talent connects with top automotive companies. Here's a shocker. We're not using any fancy technology or AI. We literally built a simple HTML job board. That's it. But it works really, really well. And the best part, it's completely free for CDG listeners to post and fill positions at their firm. So I'm sure you're wondering, what sets us apart? Well, when companies hire through CDG Jobs, they're choosing from a pool of the most informed candidates in the industry. Don't wait. Whether you're hiring or seeking a new opportunity, visit cdgjobs.com today or click the link in the show notes below. That's cdgjobs.com.
What do you think about, you're obviously managing a brand in such a public eye. How is that just different for you in the day-to-day, right? Than, Hyundai, which clearly was not involved in politics, news. I mean, such a different type of direction.
It is different, but Hyundai was really public too. It was actually one of the things when Jose had asked me to come over to be CMO 5 years ago. He asked me if I was nervous or had any concerns about anything. And one of my answers for him that day was, it was a really public job. And being a CMO at an OEM is public. I mean, you could fail or succeed very publicly. And that made me a little nervous. And it was true. Everything I did do at Hyundai, people wanted to write about, think about, comment about. Every time we did, a spot around Super Bowl timeframe, everyone talked about that. Things like Amazon, you just asked me about it today. I mean, there's a lot. So this is similar. I think the one big difference is that we have a really famous person who bought this platform for a specific reason and ideal, and it's being transformed rapidly. And his ascent into the global sphere has gone to the next level. And I think people find it interesting. And I think that's the only other change. Otherwise, I think, every job of every CMO or global head of marketing is always going to be front and center of what people are talking about. And I took this challenge on with all those things wide open. Lindy Accarino is the CEO. She's fantastic. She's there to operationalize the company. And that's our goal, is to grow the platform. And we have a big job to do in that. And it's the same way I felt about the job I had at Hyundai.
It's amazing. And when you think about your goals moving forward, the future of the brand, can you give us a little sneak peek? What can you share?
Oh my gosh, we have so much going on. I now call it X time. They told me that, you start at X and you'll be like, you feel like you've worked there for like a year.
Really?
And it's really true. I have only been there for 2 months.
What's it been like?
Amazing. Everyone talks about Elon, but we have this amazing CEO in Lindy Accarino, and she's fantastic. And there are a lot of really smart people who work within X, which is great. I didn't deny that was the case before, but now I know for sure. Really, really smart people, and everyone's really passionate about the brand and the platform. And it's been great to just be immersed with them. My job in my role as global head of marketing is to help tell this story of innovation and where the platform really needs to be in people's daily lives. I think people know it as Twitter sometimes. Elon picked the name X. I have to give meaning to that and let people know what it means today, and to tell them all this innovation is coming. And it's very different than what the platform was before. So that's fun. I mean, who wouldn't want a remit like that? So everything else around it, I think, is just part and parcel. But the last 2 months have been nothing but positive. And I personally received a ton of support for going. And, now I have a big job to do to deliver on what I said I told Linda I could do. And so we're working very rapidly to do that. But you'll see things coming up in January 2025. Yeah.
A bunch of dealers asked me this, and I have to ask you, do you see any world or future where dealers or dealerships are actually advertising on X?
Oh, it's such a good question.
By the way, whether it be organic or paid, but I think that has not historically been a brand that a local business really thrives with. It's a more interest-based algorithm. And again, it just hasn't been that type of brand. But creators and social media is doing big things for the automotive community in general.
Yeah.
How do you think about that?
So it's such a great question. I think that's the next evolution for the platform. I have had a couple of dealers who I've remained in contact with. They're so great and they're so supportive. Ask me this very good question. So we have a great group that is in charge of the auto vertical. And so we've been discussing this. How do we take the platform down to a tier 2 or a tier 3 application and really give it a place where, we can have these, brands of these, dealers actually show up and have a place. And
how do you do that?
I'm not sure if we know exactly what's the best formula, but I think we're going to come up with some rapid ideas here very quickly. So I think it's an untapped part of the market. And if we could deliver something that they would want to lean into, I think, like everything else, I think it's just the upside of innovation and creative thinking.
Yeah, I saw someone post like, hey, it would be cool if there's an option to prioritize posts on some feed with only local people.
Great.
Like a feed where it only shows me local posts.
Things.
Yeah.
And you can have those filters.
Yeah.
I don't know how with the engineering on X, I'd have to check on how well we do that today, but that would be a great way to start that kind of application.
I love it. Angela Zepeda, any last closing thoughts before we hop off?
I just appreciate the opportunity. I'll just say I love talking about Hyundai today. And I wish the company all the best of luck there. There's a fantastic group of people there. And I'm really excited about the future for X. And for anybody listening to this who isn't on X yet, go check out the platform and just become a user and see for yourself.
Love it.
I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Thanks for coming on.
Uh-huh.
All right. Hope you enjoyed that episode. Please give the podcast a rating, consider subscribing to the show, and check the show notes for links to what we talked about. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you guys next time.